We'll go over what we want to go over. I see we're recording. Go ahead, Bob.
Who's kicking us off?
You are.
You
I
are.
am?
You're doing the work today, baby.
Oh, man. Somebody should have told me that before I hit record. I don't even know what week we're in. What are we in? Week 18?
18.
All right. Welcome, everybody, to week 18 of the Masters Chatter. This week's very special guest, Mr. Matt Chan, the one and only. Let's see. Games athlete from 2007, I believe, all the way through 2013. Multiple top 10 finishes. Currently the reigning Central Titan on NBC's Titan Games. And with us, we got our usual crew, minus a couple that couldn't make it today. So we got Clint Paddock, Justin LaSala, Steve Swistak, and myself, Bob Jennings. And with that, I will kick it over to Justin. Start us off.
Hey, Matt. There's so much to cover with you, but we're a Masters group. So we like to try to focus on what's going on in the older type competitive CrossFit part. So, the question that I think a lot of us had was 2018, your first year in the Masters group. Were you making a strong run at it? Was the goal to try to make the games, or were you just kind of having fun with it?
I was just having fun. But I think I don't know if was 2018 my first year. I think I've actually competed in the Masters in other years as well.
They have 35.
That's a good question. I know I tried two different years to do the whole Open.
Okay.
Maybe even 3 years. But yeah, I've always just approached the Masters one just like it's fun.
Right.
I trained hard enough, long enough to know that I don't want to train like that again. And the Masters would have been a great opportunity that I would have been very thankful for making it if that would have happened and shook out like that. But yeah, I think my training days are over and I'm kind of geared more towards exercise now.
Yeah. And that's the question, obviously for us, I know me, Steve, Bob, you were in that division that year too, right? 18? Were you in the 40?
Yeah. No, 18 was my first year in 45 to 49.
Okay. So, from our perspective, we see you guys, we see the Chris Spielers and the Neil Maddoxes and Matt Chans and all these guys. And we want you guys to be in our division so bad because it's our chance to kind of measure ourselves up against you guys, and, we're always curious. We had Castro on, twice, and we asked Dave, why don't you think those guys, do it? And, I guess you kind of answered in a sense that the commitment level is the same. If you're going for individual or Masters, the commitment has to be the same, and to be able to just have fun in it, it goes to show you that how good these athletes in the Masters division really are. But why do you think no one does want to make that next step? Is it kind of like not to put it down at all, but is it kind of like going from first class into coach a little bit in the sense of where you're like?
No, I don't think so. Not at all. I think, making it to the Masters, especially once they stepped it down to 10, right? Isn't that what it's at now?
Yeah.
That was a big deal. And that's definitely an accomplishment to make it. And it would have been something I would have been very proud of to make it into the final 10. But you're right. You hit the nail on the head. It's just, there comes a point where, for a long time, I was very selfish and prioritized myself and my training and my sleep and my nutrition over everything else. And I didn't want to do that to my wife anymore. I didn't want to do that to my immediate family, the nieces that I have that I, didn't really get to know that well because of training. I wanted to be a better husband. And you guys know, to train to be at that level, it requires your complete and total focus, at least for a good majority of the year. And I just didn't have it. So I decided to pay back all the love and support that my wife gave me during the 6 years that I went to the CrossFit Games. and let that be the priority. So that's my reason. The other guys, I can't speak for them, but I assume it's
Right.
the same.
Right. I have a question as far as that part of it. You started CrossFit so early, there wasn't a lot of information on how people were training. Do you think you beat the crap out of yourself in those early years, just trying to over volume and do all that?
That was never my style.
Okay.
I was never a high volume guy. When I started, I think my first year at the CrossFit Games, which was 2008, was I think I was 29 years old. So the year that I took second place in 2012, I knew that was my year to really, do everything that I could to make it, to potentially, stand on the podium. And I was 35 years old. So, that's now, I think, a master's age, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, I knew I was well past my prime as far as volume was concerned. And I also needed to even be smart with intensity. I couldn't do high intensity training sessions every day of the week, multiple times a week. I had to just do it when my body felt right to really step on the gas pedal and test it.
Right. Bob.
Wow. I had to pull up the 2012 leaderboard to look at that real quick. I mean, it's not like you were going up against a bunch of nobodies, right? I mean, Froning was first, Casper Meyer was third, Scott Panchek was fourth, Jason Kleep was fifth, Dan Bailey sixth, right? And for a 35-year-old man at that point in time, I mean, those guys were all babies compared to you, right?
Yeah. Yep. And it was not a gimme either. I mean, those events, they definitely suited me. If you go back and look at them, they were not designed for me, but there could have been worse stuff. I got through the stuff that I needed to do well in, and the stuff that I could excel in, I did. And it worked out in my favor that year. And I think a big part of that was that I did not overtrain, whereas a lot of those guys were doing that at the time. They were, a lot of volume and a lot of intensity, and we're talking throughout the entire year with no breaks. And that just was never me. I couldn't do that.
Yeah. So 2013, you went back to the games again. Then 2014 was when you had your big bike crash, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
How much do you think that played into that shift in mindset around, your devotion to training versus your devotion to your wife and family?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, honestly, I identified so much with competing at that time that I don't think it played much of a role in my decision to focus, back on my family and my relationships. Because, when I felt healthy again, when my leg was fully healed and I could start training again, I jumped right back into it. But what I found was that I couldn't, for the 2015 season, I gave that year my all. I trained how I should have trained, and it only gave me, I think, 9th place in regionals. So I just, I was just kind of over the hill and gave it my all at that point, and it just wasn't good enough. So, that was when I decided in 2015, that was when I decided that, okay, I'm not willing to beat up my body anymore for taking 9th place in regionals.
Yeah. And you were 37 at the time at that point, or?
Yeah, that sounds right.
Steve,
Did they not have that 35 bracket then?
No, they didn't have that.
When did that start?
2017,
I think.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah.
Hey, Matt, thanks for joining us. I think, we've had a lot of great Masters athletes on the show the last 17 weeks, honestly. And the common theme I've noticed, and even amongst the group that's on this call every week, it's that volume question, so to speak. It's how much effort do you need to put in on a weekly basis to try to get into that, what was top 20, now top 10. And, just based on the conversations and hearing from you, it's, hey, less volume is a good thing for guys our age, for athletes our age. Can you talk more to that? Because I think, just looking on social media looking how specific, programmers program for the Masters, I think it's too much in a lot of ways. And I think the message of less is more at our age is a good thing. Make sure to have those active recovery days, train a little bit differently. You're not that young warrior anymore. So your feedback would be great, I think, for the community.
Yeah. So I can't speak, for everybody, for every age bracket. But I think there's a progression that has to happen for all athletes. And it really starts with skill accumulation. Without the skills, pushing volume is unnecessary and inappropriate probably. So, you've got this tick list of skills that you need to have in order to be a competitive athlete in the CrossFit competitions. And usually it's the high skill stuff that once you have those boxes checked, then you can start accumulating more volume. And I think that's where a lot of people go wrong, is they try to accumulate more volume before they have the basic skills, not even basic skills, more technical high skill movements, on their list of what they're capable of. So let's just say, that list includes things like, strict muscle ups, strict handstand push-ups, a 275 pound clean and jerk, a 185 pound squat snatch. Once all of those skills are built up and you have those, then I think that volume is okay, but it needs to come and go in waves, because our bodies are not meant to maintain a high training volume year round, especially as we age. I learned that lesson, and now I'm dealing with the consequences of that because my knees and my back have both not recovered and actually have some long-term damage. So I think the smart thing for the Masters community to consider is, first, only train 3/4 of the year. I mean, after your competition season, there needs to be a full macro cycle of rest and recovery. And that'll allow your body to really be prepared for the rest of the year. And then we start, slow, low volume, low intensity, and build out throughout the year. And then you kind of taper off towards the end of the year before the competition to ramp things, to be prepared and rested for the competition. You guys all know that stuff, a taper, if you will. But I think that, for the Masters athlete, personally, once those skills are accumulated, it's just a matter of touching all of them. And, CrossFit competitions are 100% about intensity. So, putting those intensity-based workouts in 2 to 3 times a week should be prioritized. But filling the gaps with touching those skills, maintaining an aerobic base, stuff like that, is where we would benefit more from the younger athletes.
Yeah. And Matt, is that the coaching technique that you would tell? You have master athletes at your gym, obviously. I don't know if they're competitive or not, but having them go through a progression, because a lot of us are gym owners or coaches at gyms and stuff, and we see it all the time. People come in and they're like, oh, I got to learn butterfly pull-up. And you're like, well, let's learn pull-up first, all right? Everyone kind of like wants to jump to that sexy movement, and kip and do all this other stuff. You guys, I think you were part of the CrossFit competitive class, right? You and Chris.
Yeah, we wrote that one together.
Yeah, that's a common theme probably you guys were trying to tell these guys, and when you meet them in person, we see it all the time, in the gym. People they just think more is better. They go onto YouTube and they see all the highlights of everybody and the Instagram and all this other stuff, and they think more is the way to go. But to your point, and to what I try to tell our athletes is, like, learn the skills first. How can you go fast on squat snatch if you can't even squat snatch? So that's good feedback.
Well, and the years that I did the best too, I mean, that was a big part of the program, was practicing skills, not skills in the middle of a workout, but just actually practicing skills. And that included things all the way up to something as simple as running. And my coach at the time, we practiced the skill of running multiple times a week, so that, the technique of running for me at my size was as efficient as possible. And I could, basically instead of worrying about a lot of volume of running and a lot of intensity in running, we worked on technique, and that just made me a better runner and more prepared for the CrossFit season.
Eric O'Connor, how did you meet him? How did that all go down? Because Eric, we know he's one of the head judges and one of the head guys. I know he had a lot to do with the 2018 programming for games, or 2017. I forget which year. It was either 2017.
I think both years. Both years.
Tell us about that relationship, and does he give you crap to be like, come on, do the Masters, dude? You know, like, what are you doing?
Well, that's great, dude. I love Eric, and Eric is one of the guys that has been involved with CrossFit and CrossFit competitions for as long as anybody out there, and he doesn't get a lot of mentions. So it's cool that you mentioned that. Eric and I met in 2008 at Cherie's Level 2, the CrossFit Level 2. And I was there as a participant that they were using in the circles. I had already completed my Level 2. And during the breaks, I got to meet and talk to Eric because he was a member of he was a coach at Chris Spieler's gym. So I had always seen him in videos, and I wanted to say hi to him. And then for the next, literally to this day, we've been very, very close to each other. He's my business partner with Train for the Win. He writes the programs for our Tribe, which is our affiliate program. And he also writes the Compete program. So as far as, programming for competition, he is the man. And I think Dave Castro recognized that Eric has a very unique skill in programming. He can program very deceptive workouts. And they're also extremely well balanced. And Eric is a very humble guy. He would never say that about himself, but he is an expert in the field of competitive programming. So it's really cool to hear you say that. What I love about Eric is that, he bounces workouts off of a whole bunch of people. Like, hey, let's try this. Let's try this. I want you to try this. I want you to try this. And, you never know what it's going to be used for. So in years past, he would tell me, hey, I want you to try this workout. Let me know how it goes. I'm thinking about using it for Compete. And it would turn out that it would be, some aspect of it I would see in the Masters competitions. And it's like, oh, I see what you did there. So yeah, he's a great dude. He was in the 2008 and 2008 through 10 CrossFit Games too.
Yeah, for sure. It's put in a good work because we're trying to get him on the show.
Okay,
We want to talk to him about, what the behind the scenes kind of things about the Masters, community, and as far as, like you said, the programming, because, that's always something that I don't care if you're doing a game competition or you're doing a local box competition. Everybody wants to know what the workouts are. They all want to know what they are and what the deal is. Go ahead, Bob.
Funny story about that. For the last I think 2 years of Masters, I have not coached anybody, but the two or 3 years prior to that, I had coached a number of the athletes, and of those years, he was also one of the ones that was assisting with programming. And basically, he and I could not talk because I couldn't help myself. Every time I would talk to him, I'd be like, yeah, so, hey, what do you think about, I'm going to run these guys through this thing. What do you think about that? And he'd just be like, dude, I can't say anything.
So he did 17 and 18, right? But he wasn't involved last year?
I believe that's correct. I don't know that for a fact, though.
Yeah, I think all of us would say, and we've talked about it a lot on the show, that 17 and 18 were kind of the pinnacle of the Masters programming at the games. Mm-hmm. And then we saw a sharp decline in 19. I think we were all kind of disappointed in the variety of tests. 19 seemed to be the same workout over and over again, basically. So, yeah. But
Matt, do you follow it all, the Masters at all? I know are you still coaching level ones?
I'm not. I resigned from CrossFit a couple months ago, and really I hadn't coached too many level ones in the past 2 years anyway. I think I did a total of maybe 10. Right. But I follow the Masters competition only as a spectator. I don't follow, any of the where people are at throughout the year. I just simply watch the events. That's it.
Yeah, the main reason why I ask is because, I mean, obviously there's been a ton of changes, with the games and all that other stuff and going down to 10. And, last year we didn't get any coverage at all, all right, no one covered anything, I mean, so I was just wondering what your opinion was on that as far as like, again, we're masters, so, we want to be covered the same way the teenagers want to be covered. So I'm just kind of wondering what it's like for someone who maybe has an interest in it. Was it disappointing to find out that you couldn't even watch these events in 2019?
Yeah, it was because, I really enjoyed the years. Every year that I see like Kyle, Casper Bauer in there. And again, I had athletes that I was programming for, and I wanted to see how they would do. And it was great to see it in, on YouTube, YouTube Live or whatever they were, the CrossFit Games site, wherever they were, the live stream was from. I always tuned in, and I loved when you could switch between the different competitions, so you could kind of always watch whatever's live going on right now. It is disappointing, and I understand the frustration from the Masters community to have that kind of taken away from them. But here's the thing, the Masters competitions they're wonderful for Masters, but I think, if you look at it from a different lens where it is, I don't want this to come out the wrong way, but it is a sideshow to the main event.
No question.
And when there's a budget, and when, there's something has to go on the chopping block, it's obvious what they're going to choose. So I think that's all that it was. I don't think that they don't think that the Masters division doesn't have fans and won't have spectators. It's just, is it worth the production that it costs compared to the main event? And I think that's really, it's unfortunate. But, hey, there's a lot of people in the stands. I've seen those competitions. I've, been to a couple of them, and it's great to see so many people, rooting on the Masters. And I think that's really what it's about.
Yeah, and we're always thankful, too, for even the opportunity because, quite frankly, I mean, the divisions go by 5 years. If they win by 10 years, I don't even know if I'd make it, as many times as I have. Or,
Right.
like, first, for my part, I mean, so it's great to even have an opportunity. But in the same sense, it's great to be recognized by your peers and to have other people see you and those types of things.
Sponsors.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, all that stuff is super rewarding and it makes you feel good and motivating and stuff. But go ahead, Steve. You had something?
Yeah, Matt, before I jump off, I've got to get on another conference call here in a couple of minutes. For me, being 44, kind of moving on to the next division of 45 next year, it's what keeps me motivated. And a lot of the years where I was truly focused on training, I had, sacrificed some of the things I like to do, like skiing and, playing basketball, pick up basketball, just things like that, because I always felt I was going to get injured. When you were training at your peak, did you have to sacrifice? I know you talked about sacrificing family and some of that time you had spent because of all that training. Did you set that stuff aside? Because I see now, I mean, I follow you on Instagram and social media. You've always been active outside of just CrossFit, but are you using that exercise regimen to do those things that you might have, put aside in previous years?
Yeah, great question, Steve. And Steve, you look great for 44, by the way.
Thanks, man.
I think
I appreciate it.
For years I did. I put everything to the side, and that was that time where I was very selfish, and frankly self-absorbed, and I just focused on what was important to me and stuff like that. And climbing, skiing, mountain biking, they all took the backseat to training, and it was a shame. But I think we're making up for that now. We're getting a lot of time in the backcountry in the winter and at ski resorts, and in the summer we're climbing. This year we haven't made it out quite as much. I had a knee procedure, and we're biking a ton always, and that takes precedence over training most days. And if I can go in there and squeeze in, a little something that would complement those activities, then I do. But I'm not. Previously, I would prioritize the training, and then if there's time, I would do the other stuff. And that role's reversed. So, frankly, I feel healthier because of it too. So I think there's something that can be taken from that by all masters athletes, that, if you're not feeling it one day, don't feel like you have to go in. Instead, do something like, do a ruck with a pack, something like that.
Matt, I appreciate that answer. I apologize for having to jump off so early, but as masters athletes, we do have jobs too. And I know your time is as valuable as ours, but I'm going to jump off. Thanks again, guys, and looking forward to catching the rest of this. Yep.
Thanks,
bye,
Steve.
guys.
Hey, Steve.
Hey, Steve.
Hey, Matt. So take us through the Titan games. How did you get involved in that? Let's start with that. How did you get involved? What was your attraction to it? Take us through the whole process and led us up to where we're at right now, I guess.
Yeah, so I watched the previous season as it was kind of unfolding, season 1, because couple reasons. Number one, Jess Griffith was on it, and I wanted to see how she would do. I also had some interest in some of the other athletes that I had heard of, and I wanted to see where they would end up. I wanted to see the firefighters, how they did. So I was just kind of interested in watching it. And as the events unfolded, I was like, oh my gosh, this would be so much fun. And these guys are all shapes and sizes. They're regular people. None of these people are professional athletes. It seems like it would be something that would be a ton of fun to participate in. And if I had the opportunity, I wouldn't even train. I would just go and try to have fun and see how it would go. So after the finale of season 1, I recorded the video because they had an advertisement at the end of the show saying that go on to NBC.com and fill out a entry and you can be in season 2. So that's what I did, and kind of forgot about it. And about 9 months had passed, and they reached out in November and asked if I would be interested in going to what they call the Combine. And of course, I jumped all over that. I took a trade at work, and I went to the Combine, and it was just an overnight trip. So it was super easy. It was to LA. Got put in a group of people, about maybe 10 to 13 people that we stayed with and competed at all these events, and then went home and just kind of kept my fingers crossed that they would, choose me. But these people are all really super cool people with really amazing stories and different backgrounds. And, I didn't really hold out much hope that they were going to choose me, because I'm, the way I look at it, I'm just kind of like a firefighter with an athletic background. I'm not as outgoing as a lot of those people are. I'm definitely more abrasive and rub people the wrong way. So I didn't think that they would choose me, and they didn't. The producer called me, the casting director called me, and he said, hey, good news and bad news. Good news is we would like you to come to Atlanta for the shooting. The bad news is you are going to be an alternate. And I said, oh, all right, well, I need to consider this. Can I get back to you? I talked to Sheree, and Sheree and I, we promised ourselves that if interesting opportunities ever came up, we would always do it. So she talked me into it. She said, you promised if an interesting opportunity comes up, we're going to go do it. And something good's going to come of it. So that's what we did. And I told them, yep, I'll take off the time. They asked for 3 weeks of time. So I took off the time at work, and 2 days before I jumped on the plane, they called and said that while training, one of the athletes tore his bicep off the bone or seriously strained it, and that they were going to put me in the competition. So that was it. That's the story of how I got there.
That's really cool. So, the Combine experience itself, was it like a mini CrossFit comp, or how did they structure that, right?
Yeah, not at all. Not even a little bit. It was, I don't know if I can legally say exactly what the events were, but I could say that they were all very simple tests that you see at the time. I didn't understand why they would test certain things, but then you see what the events are, and it's like, oh, I got it. That applied to this one. This one applied to that one. They tested grip strength. I'm not going to say how, but they tested grip strength, and it's like, why would they do this? This is so silly. Like, we could do deadlifts. We could do, something that tests grip strength other than static grip strength.
Right.
And as it turns out, that event where they're hanging from the pull-up bars called kick out, where they're kicking in the pistons and they're coming from opposite sides. Obviously, that's 100% based on strength, grip strength.
Yeah.
So all the events kind of played into it like that.
It's funny. I didn't start watching it until this year, and it was because of you, right? So, you and Danny and Margo, right? Just there's more kind of bigger name CrossFitters doing it this year, and so it became really interesting to me. But when you look at a lot of those events, just your comment on grip strength, that seems to be the failure point, right? Like even the one where, they got the poles going on either side, right? And then you end up, you're both on one pole trying to get it out. Like those failure point there is, it appears to be grip strength, right? Or the one where you're crawling on the fences, right? That are hanging up above, right?
Yep.
So I guess you could see where grip strength really kind of comes into play there.
Yeah. So you could that type of skill that is what they tested, and they tested each of the major skills that you see in the events.
Yeah.
And at the time I was kind of thinking to myself, like, well, I mean, I'm not going to really, my talents are not going to shine doing these events, doing the combine events. And they didn't really. I was kind of middle of the pack for everything. But the way that they paired you against somebody else, they didn't want either person for it to be a blowout. So they used all that stuff to help them decide who's going against each other, what would be a good race, what are you completely incapable of doing, so that we don't put you in that.
Yeah.
I'm curious. Like I only watched it last night for the first time. So is every week, do they do the same workouts?
No. So I think in leading up to the finale, there was probably somewhere between, I would say, 4 and 6 different major events. So you'd have to go back and watch them. I want to say there's like between 4 and 6 major events, and the pairs of competitors, there were similarities across the competition where multiple groups did the same event, but not everybody. So, just as an example, I did one, what's it called? Herculean pull. And Herculean pull, I think only 3 other groups did it, or 2 other groups did it. I was a group of 3. So other groups did chain link and this and that. So they put you on the stuff that you could showcase your skills on. But usually you were paired with somebody that was also very, very strong at that particular event, or what they perceived that you would be good at that event.
What was your favorite one during the qualifying? What was your favorite event that you did?
Well, I'll tell you which one was the hardest, and that was that lunar impact, the one where you go up the ladder to the door that swings. And
Gotcha.
That guy was a giant, and literally I knew if I couldn't hit him with the door while he was still on the ladder, that it was basically, I was just going to try to apply enough pressure on that door that I would wear him out and just hope for the best.
Yeah.
And it didn't play out like that, but it was 23 minutes of just brutality. My calves were sore for a week. I mean, it was crazy.
So that was 23 minutes you guys were up there?
Oh yeah. Yep.
Oh, so did they edit all that down?
It was about 2.5 minutes of it, right? And it looked like it was brutal, but
yeah. So everything is, it's not all exactly like it seems. There's definitely a Hollywood element to it.
Yeah.
Because they have to fit it into the show. I mean, who wants to watch two guys pushing on a door and not moving for 15 minutes?
Right.
So they say
it's like the row in the games, like who wants to watch rowing for a marathon?
Yeah, exactly, man. And frankly, it would have been boring. So
I got a random question. So last night was the first time I ever watched that show, and this is going to seem odd. Did they make you guys shave down? Because those guys were completely hairless.
Well, they're bodybuilders. A lot of those guys are bodybuilders. So,
because the guy on last night was a long distance driver for golf. Like that was his job.
Yeah.
Right.
So he was a bodybuilder, and the other guy, he was in the military. So but he was stocky as well. So, but they all looked completely. I'm like, it's just odd to see it, and I'm like, they must make them do that so it looks better for TV. And I just thought it just struck me as weird.
I think it's a thing that those competitors were doing on their own.
Yeah.
Because obviously, you know, that it does make make you appear more muscular, vascular, all that stuff. And you know, there is that element to the show that competitors, you know, I'm not gonna lie, I sat in a makeup chair for 15 minutes before each of the events, and it was just like, you know, they put all this stuff on me. It's like, oh my god, this is crazy.
So that combine, they just had you like a static hold, or did they actually have you do a workout against somebody?
No, so you never competed against anybody. So there was just you just performed whatever the event was to the best of your ability, and they marked off how you did. So some of it was like, you know, a max static hold, and
Yep.
you know, your time is your score. Some of it, like, you know, was a max lift. So that was about the only thing where there felt like there was a little bit of competition going on, because we would just circle on and off a bar. And it was pretty impressive what some of those guys could lift. I mean, like, I'm not going to lie. I saw some stuff that I was like, holy cow, these guys are beasts, like way stronger than me, way stronger. So yeah, I was definitely intimidated by their skill set. And, you know, just as an example, Shantae McMillan is a Olympian decathlete, and there's a running event at the combine, and watching her run was like watching a gazelle run. And then, you know, you get all these other bodybuilders out there. It's just like, oh shit, I'm gonna look like those guys.
Yeah, I think, you know, just I've become obsessed with the show, and so I watch it every week now. And you know, the long distance golf, the long drive guy, right? Like,
The one last night?
yeah. So the guy's a beast. He's like maybe 5'9" and like 250, right? Like just gigantic. But he can't move. Right, like, so he made it into that final round, and you just knew going into Mount Olympus that, like, he didn't have functional movement to him, you know.
Well, hey, that's I mean, you guys know the benefit of that stuff. Like, the way that we train is it's hard to beat. It's not aesthetic for everybody, you know. CrossFit does not necessarily produce the fittest looking people, but it definitely produces the actual fitness to complete any task. And that's definitely what I think this Titan Games thing that I participated in, that's something I learned from it. Was just like, this is a testament to our program. Honestly, I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I haven't done a single handstand push-up in years. I haven't done a single I've done some muscle ups, but I haven't done muscle ups in a workout in probably 2 years. But it's all still there just by doing functional movements. And when you put them to the test on game day, you know, at an event like this, it's cool to see that, you know, just touching these skills from time to time, practicing high intensity workouts, the conditioning pieces, the strength pieces, how it all just comes together to this great level of fitness that is hard to argue with.
Yeah, well, when you look at the results so far, right, over the first couple of weeks, right, you have yourself, Danny, right, you have Margot, all of you guys have advanced and are, you know, going to whatever the next round is. I'm not even sure what happens next, but you know, all high level CrossFit athletes, right? Which kind of brings me to my next question, which is, you know, I've noticed in the story part of it, right, where they try to tell the story around the athletes, CrossFit's never been brought up, not once. And you all are, you know, owe a lot of your I don't know if fame is the right word, but you're all famous in the CrossFit community. Mm-hmm. Why do you think NBC has chosen not to emphasize that?
Yeah, well, let me first, you know, answer that. I've gotten that question just so much, you wouldn't even believe it. Like, literally every time a show airs that I'm on, I get 10, 15, 20 of those questions where it's like, why are they not mentioning CrossFit? And I think you got to remember that, you know, CrossFit's still not a mainstream training protocol or methodology. the majority of people are still, they follow bodybuilding routines. They go to cycle bar. I mean, the majority of people are doing stuff like that. But I think that real answer to that question is that they've not mentioned anybody's training method. So keep that in mind, right? So the guys that are doing, that are bodybuilders, they're not saying like, you know, they're not highlighting their bodybuilding methodology. The people that are doing powerlifting, they don't mention any of their powerlifting. So I think that the focus is more on the person and the persona than it is the training method. So even though I totally agree with you, I owe this minor amount of fame that I have to CrossFit. It's 100% ignored because I think they're trying to develop a story about the person.
Yeah.
Right. Matt, do you get more people that recognize you now from the Titan Games than CrossFit?
Yep, I do.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, I think people are over seeing me in the CrossFit world, so or even maybe like the young people have no idea who I am. So, and it's funny.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
It's funny. We spent last week in Estes Park, which is kind of the gateway to Rocky Mountain National Park, and we did some hiking around. I was in Safeway, you know, shopping for food or whatever, and people would be like, "You're the guy. You're the firefighter. You just won the Central Region." It's like, yep.
Yeah.
Signing autographs?
No autographs, but definitely pictures.
You know, Matt, when you get into the Titan Games, you said you did it for fun. 9 months later, they contact you. You don't even know if you're an alternate. You don't even know if you're going. But once you step out there and it's time to, you know, play, so to speak, do those competitive juices just get lit up again and you're right back to where you were 2012, 2014?
Yeah, I mean, I'd be lying if I say they don't. I mean, like, I did. I went in it for fun, and you know, I didn't care if I won, lost, or whatever. I just wanted to go out there and play on this big adult playground and get to meet The Rock and all that stuff. But then as soon as that competition started and everybody started to get in a little bit of more competitive nature, I definitely kind of followed suit. And, you know, the opportunity to compete against the NFL lineman Joe Thomas was, you know, a unique experience for me. I've never got to test my fitness against a completely different background and an athlete of his size, stature, and capacity. So I was really excited to do it. And when he beat me, because of, you know, I mean, he beat me. Let's just put it like that. It fired me up. And at that point I was like, okay, no, I'm going to do everything I can to beat this guy and beat everybody to get back to Joe Thomas so that I can get another shot against him.
You had him up against the ropes, man. You just needed to get that key in. So
I know, dude. I was so nervous, and honestly, that event, Mount Olympus, it doesn't look like much, but it is so glycolytic that, you know, by the end of it, I could barely grip the idol. I could barely. I mean, pulling that Atlas stone was like, it's not even that heavy, but it was just, I didn't have any legs on me at that point, and everything was very, very difficult. So it was cool. It was a lot of fun.
Do you get a lot of do you get a lot of CrossFit friends of yours that are like, come on, you lost, you know? Or
Yeah, the guys at the firehouse, I come back the next day, and they're all like, what the hell? What, you just got to put it in. It's like, I mean, come on, guys. I tried.
I'm real curious about how they run that during the day, right? So, for example, you're going up against that gigantic dude. You do 23 minutes up on top of the lunar impact, right?
Yep.
Do you get any recovery time before you have to go up against Joe Thomas then, or how did they kind of structure that, right?
Yeah. So the way that they record it is actually in a different order than what you see. So it's not region, this region goes first, then they go to the next region. If they have an event set up, they complete that entire event for everybody that's going to use it before they break it down. So, the example that you're talking about, Lunar Impact, that was one of the first events that every region had a competition where, you know, two men and two women went head to head. So, you know, we had time. Let's just say I was in the first group that did Lunar Impact. Well, then I wait for the rest of the men to finish Lunar Impact. Then I wait for the rest of the women to finish Lunar Impact. Then I wait for them to break down the event and put up the new event before I get to go again.
Okay.
So it's a pretty drastic amount of time. You know, I would say if I had to estimate, you know, a minimum of maybe 2 to 3 hours between events.
Okay.
Yep. Minimum. And during that time, you would think, like, you know, all you guys that have been, you know, involved in competition, you're like, okay, that's time for recovery. I'm going to hydrate. I'm going to, you know, get some glucose in me, get some protein in me. So I start recovering a little faster. You know, whatever. I'm going to do some Normatec legs, you know, whatever. Yeah, no, that ain't how it works. You finish and then you go shoot an interview. Then you go to, depending on how you did, you go to another shoot where you get prepared for the next, you have a different uniform on so that they have something to use on the screen. So it's, there's no rest. And
Gotta
there's
do
certainly,
makeup again, right? I mean, makeup's key,
exactly.
right?
Yep.
Shave down, right?
Yeah,
you down.
exactly.
Yeah.
Now you said you went away for 3 weeks. Like, I don't want to get like nosy, but like, did they pay for that 3 weeks? They put you up, or?
Yeah, they did. They took care of your accommodations, and they gave you a small stipend, so that it wasn't all out of pocket, which was very nice.
Where does that take place at?
It was, I think it was just south of Atlanta.
Oh, okay.
I don't remember the name of the town, but I think, you know, when I heard people talking about it, even though the town that we were in was not called Atlanta, everybody referred to it as Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
So it must be like, you know, the Chicago suburbs or something like that.
So when do you have to go back?
I'm done. So I know, you know, who wins, who loses, who's
Oh,
gonna.
okay. Oh, so
Yep.
this season, like, oh, so you're in this season this year, right?
That's it. Yep.
Oh, so the whole season's been taped in that 3 weeks?
Correct. Yep.
Okay, I got you.
Yep. And this so they have tonight's episode, which tonight is the 28th, right? And then I believe the very next episode on August 10th is the finale.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Yep,
Yeah,
so
this would be the end of the East region tonight, right? And then
yes. Yep. And I think I've got the days right. So that I think that means that after this, we've got the men and women regional champions or regional titans that then go together to compete for the Titan champion.
nice.
So
Well, cool, man. We're obviously pulling for you. So
yeah,
Thanks.
for sure. But Matt, I got one more question for you. You're from Chicago originally. How do you get out to Denver, Colorado?
Yeah, man. I went to Western Illinois University. I graduated in 2001. You guys are old enough to remember this. You know, that was 2001 was kind of when the internet was really taking fire, and all those .com businesses were popping up here and there. And 2001 was the first big .com bubble that broke. And I graduated with a information management and decision sciences degree. I minored in computer science. So, you know, everybody that lost their jobs had way more experience than I did. And I applied for hundreds of jobs, and I got like 2 interviews, and they just told me I didn't have the experience. So I decided to go out to Winter Park, Colorado. I took a train out there and cooked pizzas for a year and skied 100 days. And I luckily landed a job in the Winter Park Resort IT department, which I held for about 7 years.
Nice. Yeah, I used to live out of Colorado for 2 years in Denver and Cherry Creek. You know, my buddy owns a cheesesteak place out there called Pat Steaks and Sub on Iliff in Quebec. But give him a plug.
Cool.
But yeah, so I've been out there 2 years. So it's a beautiful place, man. If you like the outdoors, and you know, it's definitely a perfect little spot for sure.
Yeah, no humidity. That's the
Yeah,
nice thing for
nice this
big
weather.
change from Chicago.
300 days of sunshine too.
Is the gym
Yeah.
open right now with the pandemic for you guys? What's your situation on that?
Yeah, so we I think it's we have 10 by 10 squares, and I think at my gym that I go to there's 14 squares, which is CrossFit Verve, the one that I opened in 2008, and we sold it in 2014, and those guys still run it, and they have limited class sizes. We do the whole spray down of everything, any piece of equipment that you touch. You have to do a temperature check when you walk in, masks when you're wearing, you change your shoes at the door so that you're not tracking in a bunch of viruses and stuff like that. And I actually just got over, I had it.
Yeah.
And man, I'll tell you what, these precautions they're worth it because I'm a fit person. I'm a healthy person. I watch what I eat. I have my days where I don't do much of anything, but for the most part, I try to take care of myself, and it hit me hard, man. I had some real bad kidney pain, like lower back pain. And then the thing that really scared me is I had this sensation up here that felt like a stabbing pain. And I was like, the thing that concerned me is, you read about these people that are having clotting issues.
Right.
And I was thinking, holy shit, I'm having clotting issues in my freaking lungs, the top lobes of my lungs. But it would resolve in like 5 minutes. And then some, it'd come back, throughout the day. And it was just pretty scary. So these people that aren't healthy, I don't get these people that are not wearing masks, that are, avoiding, for whatever reason, it's encroaching on their freedoms or whatever. Hey, look, let's protect each other. That's, I still wear a mask, even though I'm right now apparently immune to it for 12 weeks. I still wear a mask because I don't want people to think that it's appropriate to not wear a mask.
Right.
How are you now? Can you work out now, or you haven't even bothered to even try?
No, I have. In fact, when I was quarantined, I quarantined to a fire station that was a unmanned fire station so that I wouldn't get my wife sick. She's got a lung disease called sarcoidosis, which we were really scared that, that's actually a disease that is a autoimmune disorder that causes the accumulation of scar tissue in the lungs. And she spent 2 years battling that. And the last thing I wanted to do was get her sick again. So as soon as I had a positive test, I went up to that fire station and stayed there for 11 days. But they were nice enough to throw a couple pieces of equipment in there. I had a rower, a couple dumbbells, a barbell. So I did not do anything with intensity, but I did do some bodybuilding, and I definitely did some easy rows in the sun. And man, I got to tell you, I think that's part of getting over this thing. Is like,
so you worked out the whole time.
There was 2 or 3 days where I definitely did not. The first day back, I did a 20-minute row, and I thought I was going to die. So, yeah.
Did you get it from being at work? Are you a paramedic as well, or just not
I can't answer.
Sure?
I don't know, man. I had that knee procedure, and this is my warning to people right now. I had that knee procedure done, so I was on light duty, still going in and working admin style jobs, and exposed to people, but we were taking precautions. And I think if you're considering having any sort of medical procedure done right now, I think you should reconsider that, especially if you're not of the greatest health, if it is an elective procedure. Right. If it's something that's urgent or immediate, of course you do what you have to do. But this was an elective procedure on my knee, and I guarantee 100% that my immune system took a big hit after that procedure, and that's what led to why I got so sick. I mean, I was sick.
All right. Well, Matt, I mean, I don't know if these guys have anything else. It's been a pleasure having you on here, and, just kind of, hearing what you have to say. I mean, we'd love to see you hopefully compete in the Masters division, maybe get out there, maybe hopefully the Titan, maybe, got those juices flowing. Clint, I don't know if Clint wants you out there. He doesn't want you taking a spot.
Yeah, is he in the same? If he's in a different division, have at it. I don't care.
Well, how old are you now?
I'm 42.
Oh, okay.
Oh, you got plenty, yeah, go right ahead.
He'll never be in my division either, man.
No, I don't have to worry about it.
We're a little.
Yeah, so we're all in the 45 bracket. Have at it.
Yeah, exactly.
There'll be 1 year there, but yeah, thanks a lot for for joining us, and we'll take a look at the Titan and see how you did, because I know you can't tell us.
Nope, I can't. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. And hey, the Masters division is something that, whether it's televised or not, I think, the takeaway should be that if you enjoy something and you want to put your heart into it, you're going to do it whether or not there's, prize money, or whether there's television, or whether there's uniforms, or whether there's any of that stuff. And if it's something as healthy as exercise, as long as you keep it healthy and not overdo it, right? Then yeah, who cares? Who cares? Have your family support you. I mean, especially us, because most of you guys, I'm sure you guys all have kids. Hell, I don't know, maybe you even got grandkids. But to have those,
one of our panel members has grandkids. I don't have any kids at all. Don't jinx me. My girlfriend was just behind me.
Yeah, but I mean, that's the fun. If it enriches your life and it makes you feel good about yourself, then by all means do it. Right?
Yeah, and it's a great outlet, because when you do get to a certain age, there's nothing else out there. Like, what else can you really be competitive at? I mean, so this is awesome.
Yep.
All right, Matt.
All right, guys.
We've eaten up an hour
Take
every
care.
time, man.
I'll see you guys later.
Appreciate
Clint,
it.
I beat your score too on that handstands.
Of course you did. Make that this week's workout.
All right. Later,
All right,
guys.
gentlemen,
Matt,
thank
you.
Hey, Matt,
Thank you,
thanks for joining us, man. Have a good one.
How much, Justin? All right, fucking left already?
Yeah, I think you left.
All right. I'll see you, Bob.